Most people don't fail because they're lazy. They fail because they've been trained to feel uncomfortable with winning. You think it's strategy that builds wealth, but the real secret, it's permission. The permission to want more without guilt. The permission to rise without shrinking. The permission to build a life that no longer mirrors your past. See, wealth isn't created in your bank account. It's created in the wiring beneath your beliefs, in the part of your mind that decides without asking whether you hold on to success or quietly sabotage it before it changes you. And if you've ever earned more only to fall back, if you've ever gotten close only to find a way to start over again, that wasn't bad luck. That was programming. And the moment you realize you can rewire it, that's the moment your life begins to shift. Wealth does not begin in your bank account. It begins in your blueprint, not the one you write down, the one you were handed, passed down through habits, through conversations, through the unspoken rules of survival. You didn't even know you were following. You think you're chasing money, but most of the time you're chasing patterns, trying to outrun beliefs you never questioned, trying to build a future with a mind still wired for struggle. That's why most people stay stuck, not because they lack opportunity, but because they've been programmed to reject prosperity before it ever arrives. The truth is, this wealth is not a number. It's a neurology. A set of automatic thoughts, reflexes, reactions, either trained by design or inherited by default. You want wealth. You don't start with strategy. You start with rewiring. Because if your mind is still tuned to scarcity, then no amount of effort, no number of side hustles, no perfect investment portfolio will save you. You'll sabotage every win. You'll shrink your vision. You'll find a way to circle back to what feels familiar, because that's what the brain does. It chases comfort, not truth. So let's be clear. If you don't rewire the way you think about money, you will spend your life repeating cycles that were never yours to begin with. The fear of not having enough. The guilt of wanting more. The subconscious needs to stay humble when what you really mean is stay small. These are not truths, they are programs, and every day you delay rewiring them, you reinforce them. So let's begin where most people refuse to look. The moment you learn to associate money with fear. Maybe it was watching your parents argue about bills. Maybe it was being told we can't afford that. Maybe it was watching someone rise, only to fall. And you made a quiet decision in your nervous system. Money is not safe. Wealth is not for me. Success comes with pain. You didn't write it down, but your body recorded it. And now, without knowing why you work hard, but cap yourself, earn more. But spend it fast. Build momentum. Then burn it to the ground just before it changes your life. That's not failure. That's a loop. A neurological loop trained by years of emotional repetition. And the only way out is conscious reprogramming. You must become the architect of your own operating system. Because if you don't update the beliefs, you'll sabotage the results. Every time, not because you're broken, but because your brain is too efficient. It protects what it knows, even if what it knows is what's keeping you broke. The brain's job is survival, not expansion. It is wired to conserve energy, avoid risk, and seek the familiar and wealth. Wealth is unfamiliar for most, not because they've never seen it, but because they've never felt safe inside it. So the first step is not to hustle. The first step is to tell your nervous system, wealth is safe, growth is safe, receiving is safe. And you don't do that once, you do it daily. You train your biology for expansion. The same way you'd train a muscle, through repetition, through environment, through language. That's why affirmations alone don't work. You can't out-talk a subconscious that's been rehearsing scarcity for decades. You have to prove to your system through action, through evidence, through presence, that wealth is no longer a threat. So how do you rewire? By becoming deliberately uncommon, you stop tolerating broke conversations. You stop entertaining broke behaviors. You stop reinforcing broke rituals. Because every word you say, every action you repeat, every standard you hold, is either reinforcing the old software or installing the new one. You want to be wealthy. Start behaving like someone who trusts wealth. Do you hoard every dollar in fear, or do you invest in your growth? Do you avoid risk, or do you study, prepare, and move anyway? Do you consume mindlessly, or do you create with intention? Do you shrink your goals to fit your current self, or do you expand your identity to meet your future? This is not about money management. This is about mental management, because money flows to the mind that's structured to hold it. This is why lottery winners lose it all. It's why sudden success collapses under pressure, because the mind wasn't ready to receive what the hand just caught. You don't just need money. You need the identity of someone who expects to build and keep it. And that identity isn't found in your results. It's found in your rituals. The way you wake up, the way you speak, the people you tolerate, the content you consume, the boundaries you keep, the thoughts you challenge. Wealth doesn't show up all at once. It leaks in, slowly testing your capacity. And if you pass the test, if you show that you're willing to be the vessel, it stays. But if you're still wired to panic every time you grow, if you still flinch when you succeed, if you still feel guilt when you win, your system will eject abundance like it's a virus. And that's the tragedy. You'll spend your life working hard to earn what your mind was never trained to accept. So start now. Rewire, not by repeating positive quotes, but by living as if you are already the kind of person who trusts prosperity. Think from the identity, not toward it. Move like you belong in the room. Build like your future is already watching. And speak only the language of someone who is done apologizing for wanting more. Because that's not greed, that's alignment. What do you think of this part? Feel free to leave a comment below. I read it all and appreciate every single line. Hit like if you're ready to move forward with me. Wealth isn't something you chase. It's something you attract by becoming the kind of person who no longer pushes it away. Not with your hands, but with your beliefs, with your expectations, with your emotional tolerance for success. You think you want more, but your nervous system still flinches when things go well. You think you're ready to rise, but part of you still equates growth with danger, abundance with instability, and wealth with rejection. Where do you think that comes from? It didn't start with you. It was installed through watching people who made money, then lost it. Through being told rich people are selfish. Through hearing phrases like, "We're not that kind of family." Or "Money changes people," and they were right. Money does change people. It just amplifies what was already there. If you've been programmed with fear, shame, and guilt, then wealth will bring you more of it. If you've been wired for avoidance and self-sabotage, then success will trigger every part of you that still doesn't feel worthy. That's why you can't just earn more. You have to become more. You have to do the internal work that most people never touch. Not the spreadsheets, the self, not the numbers, the narrative. What do you believe you deserve? Not consciously, subconsciously. Because your subconscious doesn't care what you say. It cares what you repeat, what you reinforce, what you ritualize. This is the secret no one teaches. You don't rise to your goals, you fall to your patterns. And if your patterns are still rooted in lack, in fear, in survival mode hustle, you will not hold wealth, you will repel it. Not because you're not good enough, but because your operating system is still tuned for a life you said you were done with. That's why most people stay stuck in cycles, because they try to upgrade their life without upgrading their beliefs. You can't build a mansion on the foundation of a shack. The structure won't hold, the wiring will short, and everything you built, it crumbles under the weight of unhealed limitation. So how do you begin to rewire? You begin by getting intimate with your limits. You stop judging yourself for them, and you start becoming curious. Where did that belief come from? Whose voice is that in your head when you start to win? What are you protecting yourself from when you undercharge, overgive, play small? This is not self-help. This is system-level coding. And once you see the code, you get to rewrite it deliberately, ruthlessly, repetitively, not through motivation, through command. Every time a thought of lack arises, you override it. Every time fear tells you to pull back, you lean in. Every time guilt says you've done enough, you take one more step. Not because you're forcing, but because you're installing a new default one where wealth is no longer a disruption. It's the baseline, where abundance is not a fantasy. It's the starting point. And the longer you live like that, the faster your brain adapts. Because your brain isn't fixed. It's plastic. It molds itself to whatever you prove is safe. And right now, safety still lives in the old life, but it won't for long. The moment you stop flinching at success, you're free. The moment you stop shrinking when you're seen, you rise. The moment you stop apologizing for wanting more, you begin to receive. Because now you're not just hoping for wealth, you're becoming the person who expects it, who doesn't chase it like a dream, but walks in it like a birthright. You don't ask the world for permission. You build the kind of focus, fire, and discipline that makes asking unnecessary. So stop managing scarcity. Start practicing abundance conditioning. Yes, you train for wealth just like you'd train for strength, with sets, with reps, with non-negotiable rituals. This isn't about income goals, it's about energetic capacity. Can you stay calm while leveling up? Can you stay focused while earning more? Can you stay clear while receiving everything you said you wanted? That's the test. Not whether you can get rich, but whether you can hold it without crumbling. Because make no mistake, success is weight. It will press on every weak spot you haven't reinforced. And the ones who rise are not always the most talented. They're the most trained, mentally, emotionally, ritually. They've conditioned themselves not just to attract abundance, but to handle it. They've practiced gratitude under pressure. They've practiced decisiveness in chaos. They've practiced generosity without guilt. They've practiced identity over and over until it became truth. And you can do the same. You can train your mind to see opportunity where you used to see risk. You can train your nervous system to stay relaxed while receiving more. You can train your energy to expand, not collapse when the spotlight finds you. But none of it happens on accident. It takes practice. It takes commitment. It takes reprogramming the way you respond to growth, because growth will come. But what you do with it, that's what defines you. So ask yourself, are you preparing for wealth with the same urgency you prepare for struggle? Do you train your mind for overflow or only for survival? Because the answer doesn't lie in your goals. It lies in your daily agreements, what you tolerate, what you reinforce, what you repeat without resistance. If it isn't building your capacity to receive, it's keeping you broke. Not in dollars, but in direction. There's no mystery to wealth, but there is structure. And most people never build it because they're too busy chasing tactics while living inside a nervous system that's still allergic to abundance. They want income, but they run from order. They want overflow, but their life leaks energy. They want to scale, but their days are built on chaos. Wealth does not live in chaos. It lives in calibrated structure, in decisions made before you wake up, in systems that remove emotion from execution, in non-negotiables that do not require motivation. Because once you've rewired your mind to expect wealth, you must build the architecture that allows it to stay. This is the part where most people collapse. They build momentum. They start to earn. They get a taste of possibility, but their systems were never built to hold it, so they fall. Not because they weren't capable, but because their structure was still shaped by scarcity. Their time wasn't protected. Their energy wasn't prioritized. Their standards were still flexible. So money came in, but their identity still operated from just enough. And no matter how much you make, if you don't build a structure that reflects abundance, you will shrink to the level of your subconscious thermostat. You want to rewire your brain for wealth. Then stop managing tasks. Start mastering standards. Wealth doesn't reward those who do more. It rewards those who decide what matters most and protect it without apology. If your schedule is cluttered, your mind is cluttered. If your habits are random, your results will be too. You don't earn your future by squeezing success between distractions. You earn it by building a rhythm that makes wealth inevitable. Structure isn't a cage. It's your freedom plan. Freedom from second-guessing. Freedom from emotional burnout. Freedom from constantly wondering, am I doing enough? When your days are aligned with your future self, you no longer chase clarity. You embody it, because now your calendar reflects conviction. Your rituals reflect readiness. Your focus becomes lethal, not because you're working harder, but because you've eliminated everything that doesn't deserve you. And here's where wealth becomes real. Not in the moments of hype, but in the mundane mastery of daily execution. You want to rewire your mind for millions. Then master boring. Master silence. Master consistency. Master the unsexy, uncelebrated reps that no one posts about, but that quietly rewire your entire reality. Because those reps, they're not about discipline. They're about identity, reinforcement. Every day, you follow through on what your future demands. You tell your brain, this is who I am now. And once that identity is locked in, you no longer try. You live it. You don't need vision boards to remind you. You don't need a pump-up video to get moving. You've trained yourself to move with precision, not feeling. That's when you stop resisting structure and start worshiping it, because it freed you. It gave your talent a channel. It gave your genius a container. It gave your abundance a home. And once abundance has a home, it expands. Not because of luck, but because your life became a magnet for momentum. People start calling you lucky. They say you've changed, but you didn't change. You just got clear. You stopped allowing chaos to lead. You stopped negotiating with distraction. You stopped entertaining anyone or anything that didn't match your new identity. You built a space for wealth to breathe, and it showed up. Because wealth doesn't need to be chased, it needs to be welcomed. So ask yourself, does your life reflect welcome or resistance? Does your energy say, I'm ready or I'm still surviving? Look at your schedule, your thoughts, your boundaries, your environment. Are they wired for overflow or are they wired for escape? Because what you allow is what you affirm, and what you affirm you attract. Wealth is not just a goal, it's a standardized frequency. And if your life doesn't match it, your results never will. So upgrade the input, upgrade the people, upgrade the language you use when you speak about money, about yourself, about your future. Speak like someone who builds empires. Move like someone who no longer needs approval. Build like someone who understands that success isn't found in moments. It's installed in systems. Systems that run even when you're tired. Systems that execute even when your emotions don't want to. Systems that reinforce your identity so powerfully that self-doubt no longer survives in your presence. This is what rewiring looks like. It's not a mindset shift. It's a lifestyle renovation. It's removing every trace of the version of you who needed struggle to feel worthy. That version of you, they served a purpose. They got you here. But now, you've outgrown them. And if you want to move into the next level of wealth, you have to be willing to walk away from the habits that made survival feel like home. You don't get to keep your old wiring and expect new wiring results. It's one or the other. and the choice starts now. Rewiring your brain for wealth isn't just about thought, it's about embodiment. You don't just think rich, you live rich. And I'm not talking about luxury, I'm talking about alignment. Wealth begins the moment you stop outsourcing your future to chance. It begins when you stop acting like the world owes you something, and you start behaving like you are the one building it. That's the shift, from wanting to wielding, from hoping to holding, from reacting to commanding. Because wealthy people don't just earn differently, they move differently. They regulate their energy differently. They make decisions from a place of clarity, not chaos. You can't hold wealth if your emotions control your execution. That's not mindset. That's nervous system training. You have to practice being calm while winning. You have to train yourself to stay grounded while increasing. You have to rehearse expansion, so when it shows up, you don't collapse under the weight of your own dream. That's what real rewiring looks like. Building emotional range to hold the life you said you wanted. Most people think they're blocked by lack of knowledge. They're not. They're blocked by internal volatility. They overthink. They doubt. They overgive. They freeze. They panic when things go well, and they disappear when things get hard. Why? Because they never trained themselves to hold power. Wealth is power, not just financial, energetic, mental, emotional. And if your container isn't strong enough, your success will outgrow your identity and then leave. So the goal is not to get rich fast. The goal is to build an identity so stable that when money arrives, it has no choice but to stay. Because your nervous system has stopped treating abundance like an invader. That's wealth, not flashy, not loud, rooted. And you train for that, the way you train for war, deliberately, consistently, with awareness, with command, with unshakable self-leadership. You breathe through pressure. You track your triggers. You regulate your habits like a pilot checks an engine, not when it breaks, but before it takes off. Because people who rewire for wealth don't wait for problems to correct them. They pre-decide. They pre-decide how they'll react under stress. They pre-decide how they'll invest. They pre-decide how they'll speak. Walk, think, build, long before the test comes. That's the kind of power most people will never touch, because it's not reactive. It's responsive. When your brain is rewired for wealth, you don't move for approval. You move for alignment. You don't post for applause. You post from purpose. You don't pivot every time someone questions you. You hold your standard because the wealthiest identity you can have is conviction. Conviction that what you're doing is required. Conviction that your work is worthy. Conviction that your vision does not need to be discounted just to fit into someone else's comfort zone. You want to be wealthy. Start practicing emotional sovereignty, because no external wealth will last if your inner world is still for sale. So let's be honest. Where are you still leaking power in your habits, in your boundaries, in your need to be liked, in your fear of being misunderstood? You can't rewire your brain for wealth and keep hiding. You can't expand your income and keep shrinking your voice. You can't build an empire from the nervous system of a prisoner. It doesn't matter how talented you are. It doesn't matter how many hours you work. If you don't expand your emotional range, your wealth will always cap at the limit of your self-regulation. So instead of asking, how do I make more? Start asking, how do I hold more? How do I hold more energy, more visibility, more income, more challenge, more pressure, more peace without falling apart? That's the real work. The quiet work, the internal engineering of a future you can actually sustain. Not for a month, not for a season, but for life. Because real wealth is not a payout, it's a practice. It's not about spikes in income, it's about sustained elevation. And sustained elevation only lives in those who've rewired their mind to stay aligned, even when the world is shaking. You're not chasing money. You're chasing the version of yourself who no longer flinches at growth. You're not trying to get rich. You're trying to build a mind that doesn't go to war with wealth every time it knocks. And when that mind is built, everything else follows. Opportunities come faster. Relationships shift. Decisions feel lighter. You start playing a different game because you're no longer questioning whether you belong on the field. You already know. So let this be the moment where you stop trying to think your way into abundance and you start embodying the person who lives there. You stop trying to heal your relationship with money and start creating one based on truth, sovereignty, and strength. You stop running the old scripts and start rewriting them line by line until the only thing your subconscious recognizes is certainty. That's what it means to rewire, to rebuild the machine, not with hype, but with discipline, not with fantasy, but with foundation. And from that foundation, you don't just grow, you rise without limits.
Check. You.god is us quais os cities scobe boa much always by a necessary is the as a this is so sit is stop.
Before we go any further, let me know what you think. Like and share if you think this content deserves to reach more people. This is the part they never teach you, that wealth isn't a destination. It's a decision made again and again and again until your brain doesn't know how to think like a broke version of you ever again, until scarcity sounds foreign, until lack feels unnatural, until the old story starts to fade, because you've replaced it with a new rhythm, a new pattern, a new identity. You don't force wealth, you become someone who makes it automatic. And once that identity is installed, the game changes. You no longer chase validation. You move from vision. You no longer prove you're worthy. You build because you are. You stop asking if you're ready. You move like someone who already decided. And here's the paradox. The moment you stop hustling to feel valuable, you become undeniably valuable. Because now, you're moving from overflow, from clarity, from calm, from the kind of energy that makes people trust you without a pitch, follow you without a funnel, and pay you without questioning your price. That's not charisma, that's alignment. That's what happens when your outer world finally matches your inner one. So let's ask it plainly. What version of you have you been reinforcing? Because every day through your habits, your thoughts, your language, you're casting a vote for the old identity or the new one, for the familiar pain or the unknown abundance, and there's no neutral. You are always rehearsing something. You are always teaching your brain what to expect. So what have you been teaching it? That you rise only when conditions are perfect, that you deserve just enough to survive, that overflow is for other people. Or have you been training it to rise regardless, to breathe at higher altitudes, to normalize wealth not as a dream, but as your new home base? The people you admire, the ones who build, lead, rise, expand. They're not luckier than you. They've just stopped reinforcing the version of themselves who needs permission to be powerful. They've rewired the loop that says, wait for the right time. Don't be too ambitious. Make sure everyone approves. Stay safe. Stay small. Stay known. And instead, they've installed a new loop. I move when it's right, not when it's comfortable. I am not here to blend. I am here to build. My wealth begins with my willingness to become someone I've never been. So what are you willing to become? Because that's the real question. Are you willing to become the person who no longer negotiates with their purpose? Who no longer folds when life presses back? Who no longer plays poor to protect other people's comfort? Are you willing to build structure so strong that wealth becomes effortless? Not because it's easy, but because your systems are now aligned with your future. Are you willing to breathe through growth, and receive without guilt? Are you willing to lose the old identity, the one built on struggle, on survival, on silence, so you can finally meet the version of you that's been waiting on the other side of belief? Because that's what this has always been about. Not just making money, but becoming someone who no longer blocks it. Someone who doesn't chase wealth, but embodies it. Someone who doesn't perform success, but lives it. Someone who doesn't shrink when praised, doesn't flinch when they rise, and doesn't apologize when they walk into a room full of people still living in the story they chose to leave behind. That's the power of rewiring. It isn't loud, it isn't flashy, it's quiet, precise, permanent. And when it's done, the world doesn't just see a new version of you, they feel it in how you speak, in how you listen, in how you show up, in how you hold space. Lead rooms, move in silence, and build like you've already won. Because you've already won. The moment you decided, I will no longer train my mind for limitation. That's the moment it shifted. Not when you got paid, not when the followers came, not when the deal closed. It shifted when you became unavailable for the old story, and now you move forward not to become rich, but because you already are rich in belief, rich in clarity, rich in execution, rich in structure, rich in self-trust, and money. It follows those who move with certainty. So let this be the final reset. Stop managing fear. Start leading with power. Stop dancing with scarcity. Start installing wealth not in your goals, but in your daily wiring. Because the world doesn't need another talented person with a broken thermostat. It needs you fully activated, fully committed, fully rewired. And now, you are. You don't rise by getting lucky. You rise by getting rewired. And now that your mind has changed, your life doesn't stand a chance of staying the same. You don't attract wealth by chasing it. You attract it by becoming someone who can finally hold it, without flinching. Not because the numbers changed, but because you did. Because somewhere along the way you stopped needing permission and started giving yourself the structure, the space, the standard of someone who doesn't just talk about abundance, but lives it. No more loops, no more quiet sabotage, no more waiting to feel ready. The work has already begun. The rewiring is already happening. And now every thought, every action, every decision becomes a signal. I'm no longer available for the version of me that fears success. You don't need more information. You just need to move like someone who remembers wealth was never the destination. It was the signal you'd finally become someone who could handle it.